Good morning, dear friends, and welcome. Welcome to the Tuesday version of this thing of ours. Let me welcome you. Thank you. And before we begin, let me thank you for the incredible support that you have always shown. Support is something, this is your chance of not only being a philanthropist, but a benefactor to contribute to the arts, to promote the arts. And your contribution and promotion here is absolutely, positively so incredibly appreciated. You have asked if you care to ever donate to say, good for you, Lionel Nation. Good for you. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for standing up. Thank you for separating us from the rest of this cacophony of calumny. How do I do this? There's, of course, the usual subscriptions here and YouTube and membership and super chats. But there's also a division, if you'd like to see, under the description section of how you may involve yourself in that as well. So there's a couple of things I'm going to talk about. First, I mention this because I don't want to say something that everybody's saying because everybody's saying it. I don't want to chase headlines. There are people I know sometimes who are doing headlines, and I realize you're doing the headline just because it's a headline, and you don't have anything to add to it. And I can tell by the by the level of vapidity of what you're saying because you're not saying anything. What about this? So whenever I talk about something, I want to give you an angle or something that I think might be important as a tutorial or as some form of an explanation. So we're going to talk about John Mellencamp quickly. This Oz lunacy, stabbings and killings and whatever, the Trump's show trial and the war drums beating in the Middle East. And but this is what I want you to know. I want you to be aware of this. I want you to hear, okay, that's what this is. But it's not the usual stuff. It's something a little bit different. You understand what I'm saying? Good. I'm glad. Now, before we begin, let me say something very, very quickly. We have sponsors, and one of our great sponsors from day one has been MyPillow. MyPillow, very quickly, just listen to me carefully. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. I want you to go there. They change the deals and they change every week it might be something. And as soon as they put up a prepared piece, he changes it, that Mike Lindell. Simply put, great products. They're American made. They're terrific. We use them. Everybody uses them. And you know what a pillow is. You know what a towel is. I don't have to tell you what a slipper is. I don't have to explain that to you. Great products, great sourcing. All they do is focus on this. Let me say this again. This. If you go to a coffee shop, all they do is talk about coffee. Maybe tea, but coffee. That they know. So if it's coffee, that's where you go. And if it comes to luxuriation, you go to mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, or call 800-645-4965. There it is right there. Just go there right now. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. Now, let me explain a couple of things to you, dear friends. Number one, let's talk about John Mellencamp, previously John Cougar Mellencamp. Johnny, nobody wants to hear you talk about Biden or anything else for that matter. He was recently out, he was booed, and he's acting like a real horse's ass. He's a guy who basically, if you want to hear Jack and Diane, okay. I ain't even done with the night. I think he's an incredibly talented person. I fought authority. Authority always, I love him. But when you go up and somebody's going to say something, he was talking about some story recently. He was saying, my grandfather, my granddad, and they said, play the song. And he went crazy, went berserk. Now, I don't know how long he's been performing, but somebody is going to be eventually saying something that really pisses you off. And you think by now you would have dealt with hecklers and, but he, of course, loses it. But what he did recently was talking about Joe Biden. And people walked off or walked out. Crosby, Stills, and Nash did this when they said, throw Biden in jail. I don't understand this. I don't understand it. What do you think you were? First of all, you got to ask yourself, what are you doing? What are you doing? What is the purpose of this? I got to tell you this much, and this bleeds in a little bit. Terrible reference point to the Middle East and what's going on with this. I saw something which I want to bring to your attention, and this was something I wish I could have. I wish I could have a special channel to watch. Watch this to know how not to argue something. Watch this to know how not to argue something. This was really, really important. There is a comedian, one of the most the unfunniest comedian, I swear to God, I've ever heard in my life. Angry. His name is Bassem Youssef. He was a cardiac surgeon. They call him the John Stewart of Egypt, or I don't know what it was. And he's on a show called Trigonometry. He's lost it. And he's asked a question. I'm giving this as an example by this fellow who's pretty interesting. It was kind of interesting. His name is they call him the John Stewart of the Arab world. I wouldn't use that. This is how clueless the guy is. And he was out with this is trigonometry, and I forget the name of the fellow who is doing this. Oh, here we Constantine Kissen, and the other dude, Francis, doesn't say a word. And the Constantine Kissen, who now is very, very good. Anyway, bear with me. So they have this question. And he says, as it starts, Constantine asks him, what would you have done if you were Bibi Netanyahu after October the 7th? What would you have done? This was the piece. It's very now. This feller apparently. Notice I say feller because he's a feller. Bassem Youssef. I think he's just had it. And he says, what would you do? What would I do? I would kill everybody. That's what I do. You see, my family is Palestinian, and I'm trying to kill them, and they won't die. And he's trying to use this obtuse kind of orthogonal humor. I'm thinking, no. He's asking a legitimate question. He wants you to know. He's trying to know the question. Don't demean people. They want you to answer a question. Yesterday, we have here in New York, what was it? The Brooklyn Bridge? You were doing that? The Brooklyn Bridge is great. Death to America. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? If I picked up the phone and said, Bibi, yeah, hi, Lionel. Listen, you don't know me here. Let me bring down my banner. I'm sorry. I didn't even know why I've got my banner up there. Thank you. That's a good my pillow, by the way. I love the man, but I say, Bibi, whoever is responsible for death to America, death to Israel, and shutting down the Brooklyn Bridge and causing gridlock nightmare, pay them if you're not paying them already. Double their salaries. Put this in 1 week. You will change whatever inclination people had in support of anything Palestinian, at least in the New York area, it'll be gone. Because they will be associated with loudmouth, rude punks. They will be to Gaza what Antifa is to George Floyd. Now, what I'm telling you is a reality. And you may not like it. It may bother you. I've lost one friend in particular, kind of a famous person who, for reasons I don't understand, I'm not going to go into it, but said, I've got a red line when it comes to Palestine. And I still don't know. It's like, well, what did I do? He never told me. I never said anything. I never said. In fact, I'm not straddling both sides. I can see so many levels to this. Let me say this again, and please, if you're drinking coffee, stop for a second, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, who is this guy I think he is? I can see multiple levels. I can see it. I can see the viewpoint of the American Jew here, the American Zionist. I can't say for the rest of the world, but I know there are people who are Zionists, and you never hear that word here. You never hear it. You never hear it unless somebody's angry about it. You never use the word Zionism or Zionist unless somebody's using it as a pejorative. And to most people, it's like it is not a synonym for Israeli at all. Not at all. Okay. I know people who are who, by the way, some there's a lot of Jews who are absolutely against the Israeli government, not against Israel. Do you see what I said? Do you see what I said? Israeli government, not against Israel. How many of you right now are absolutely disgusted? I am thoroughly disgusted with my government, especially that Mike Johnson, that rat sellout, compromised Quisling, who's selling out our privacy because he doesn't have the guts to realize they got me. They caught him in something. It's the only way I can explain this. But I never stopped loving my country, ever. You see what I'm saying? During Vietnam, I said, this is the most ridiculous. Stop this. Stop this war. Johnson, Nixon, stop it. Stop this bombing. What are you doing? What are you doing? Never stop loving this country. Never. So it is completely consistent for you to be able to say, Bibi, what are you doing? What are you doing? I know October the 7th. This is ridiculous. 35,000 people. Stop it. If this isn't genocide, nothing is. This is it. Read the definition. It may not be a part of your colloquial version of it, what you consider it to be in terms of, it's like if somebody says, is this murder? Well, it's not really murder. It's homicide. But it's murder too. Heat up. Nobody knows that. People know murder. You kill somebody, they call everything murder. And genocide, people think is, flaxseed. Genocide, people think it's, I don't know what they think. But if you read the definition, we could be guilty of genocide. I think anybody could. Hamas is guilty of genocide. Killing a group of people based upon ethnic or race or whatever it is, in whole or in part, with the intent to do so. Yeah, that's it. They got to rework this genocide definition. Read it. Of course, people don't read stuff. So what I'm trying to say is that you've got to understand how things work and how people feel. Let me give you a trick. If ever you're interviewing somebody or arguing somebody, you want to disarm them, you want to really throw them off, take something that they've either believe, that they say that you believe, that you share. I have thrown more people off. I've argued against Roe versus Wade so many times. And I said, but by the way, I'm pro-choice. I agree with you on pro-choice. I don't think a woman should be thrown in prison because she has an abortion. And it throws them off. And I keep talking. It derails them, but it's true. Because they can't, as Scott Fitzgerald said, the evidence of a supreme mind is to be able to handle two seemingly inconsistent ideas simultaneously and not lose your mind in the heartbeat. I can understand 5 different things, 6. My hero was Eric Bren when I was a kid. That guy who could spin all these plates on Ed Sullivan, keep them all going at the same time. Each plate was different. Each had its own stick. Each had its own revolution. Each had everything that was going on. And if you can't do this, sorry. And it's the way I am. Somebody will say, what do you think about love? What, love a family, love of a wife? What kind of a wife? Or what kind of a marriage? How long? The love that a man has for his wife after 30 years is not the same as 2 weeks, or it's just different. You can't use one love for a child. Love for grandchildren? That's even like, it's not the same love. It's different. It's like, wow, you're right. It's nuanced. People hate nuance. They hate it. I love it. It's what I am. It's who I that's why I can't argue with people. I can't talk to people because they don't see it. They have these stupid, okay, so going back to Mellencamp, John, sing. You don't understand what happens when you believe that you're a sage. And if you are a sage, you got to ask yourself, number one, what am I doing? Who am I eliminating? What if somebody doesn't like Trump doesn't mean that they like Biden or vice versa. What are you doing? By what lunacy do you practice? Do you think? Where do you live where you think somebody's paying all this money to see you because they want to see your little quips about Biden or Trump or whatever? Say, why do you do that? Never piss off anybody. You don't have to. Remember this, my friends. Tell your children this. Tell your grandchildren this. If ever anybody were stupid enough to ever ask me to speak to a baccalaureate, to a graduation class, students, graduates of 2024 or 20, whatever the next one is, here is a couple of words of wisdom. Number one, pick the hill you want to die on. You want to be right? Okay. You might be right, but you're going to be alone. You're going to be alone. Pick the hill you want to die on. Say it. Say what you want. Stand up and you tell these people. And then they will ask you to leave your job. Life is not fair. Now, you can't. We have the First Amendment. You can say whatever you want. Doesn't mean you're not going to be fired. Doesn't mean you're not going to break up. Doesn't mean you're not going to. Some people even don't know how to argue. They don't even know what they believe in. They just know they want to get in your face and just say you're stupid. And there's this angry. Did you see the girl? Where was she? This Indian? Where was she? Who was saying? She says, "We're going to murder you," and they sentenced her. She started crying like a little bitch. My French. Did you see this? She thought she could tell me we're going to murder you. And they threw her ass in jail. You spoke. You threatened to kill somebody. But you spoke. You happy now? That's your legacy. Pick the hill you want to die on. Our good friend here, let me see right now. Dub Rightside says, Mr. Rell, your train of thought is beautiful, demented, and brilliant all at the same time. I love it. Thank you. You speak my language. You made my day. Sometimes I think to myself, I don't know if anybody's even listening. I swear to God, I don't know if I'm listening. All right, so Mellencamp, that's it. Number 2, Australia. Oz Lunacy. You got a couple of people shooting, stabbing, whatever it is, murders. Number 1, do not explain why people do things. I have been and have told you, fascinated with serial killers, serial rapists. They don't talk to for some reason. We really need to hear, why does a child predator, up to and including teachers, female teachers who have sex with you. Have you seen this more and more of these women found naked in the car with a 12-year-old student? Do you not know you're going to go to prison? Why are you doing this? And we, of course, in our country misunderstand talking to somebody with commiserating, with agreeing with them. Empathy is what you want to do. Bernard Giles is, I don't want to say something, not favorite, but the most interesting serial killer I've ever heard. And he was on with Piers Morgan. It's the best interview to see because it was like an epiphany moment. The light bulb went on. I got it. I don't agree with it, but I got it. Ted Bundy was such a psychopath. He was too good for his own good. He had no moral reference. He thought he could fool you. He was if ever you want to see somebody who is a prototypical, maybe sociopath, psychopath, he is glib. He can talk. But Bernard Giles says, have you ever done something you really like to do? He says, I could see the atoms vibrate. I was there. Got it. I'm not asking you to see whether you share that. I want to know why you did it. So Australia, number one, stop trying to figure out why people do it. They're going to tell you. There's one guy who went in the mall. He's stumbling around. He's schizophrenic. I don't know. You want to talk about this? Okay, let me throw something out. 99% of all schizophrenics are nonviolent. Figure that one out. This guy is. What does that tell you? I don't know. What is the connection between mental health? I don't know. Did he do it because he's crazy? Yeah, he did it. Yeah. 99.9% of all, if not all, 100% of all the people in the mafia, what is we call it, are of Sicilian or Italian, Sicilian heritage. What does that mean as to the propensity of organized crime on the purpose? I don't know. Yeah, but they're all Sicilian. Well, so what? It doesn't mean anything. Correlation versus cause. Number two, Australia, don't ever say, just like Trump can't stop tweeting, these bastards can't tell you the name of the person, their Facebook postings, what the neighbors thought. Quiet, kept to himself. Neighbors were shocked. This formulaic thing they do all the time. I promise you, give me 1 year where you voluntarily, not by a law, but voluntarily, stop telling the names of people. Piers Morgan, as interesting as it was, put these people on the map. Bernard Giles, who is so interesting. Do you know he started his serial killing at the age of 20, which is very, very early, and did it all like within 4 or 5 months? I think 8 people. Boom, 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 boom. Nobody ever does that. Nobody. It just never. Now, I'm not proud of that. I'm saying it's like having this form of, have you heard of turbo cancer? O.J. Simpson, hey, he got prostate cancer. Boom, gone. Normally it's very slow, boom. Wow. What does that mean? I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, if we went 1 year and said, we are not going to ever say, by the way, excuse me, if you kill somebody right now, and I got Zuckerberg, we will absolutely, they don't care about that. We will take down your Facebook. We will never mention your name. Ever. Never. Not what you like, not what you thought, not pictures of you, not your favorite likes, we're not going to read your manifesto. One of the dumbest things they ever did was to print Ted Kaczynski's manifesto. I still don't know why they did it. Okay. So do yourself a favor, Australia. Stop this. And America too. Stop mentioning who these people are. This is what they want. What are you doing? Why are you giving them what they want? You've got some sick bastard right now saying, well, I'm going to outdo him. Oh, so that's how he got caught. Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. I'm going to start writing my manifesto now. Make sure all my friends, I'm going to leave videos so I will go down in history. I will be no. You're feeding this. It's like you're feeding the cancer. Every now and then I run into, I'll see men my age who decide all of a sudden at the age of 65, I'm going to go on and I'm going to do growth hormone because I want to be jacked. Really? Okay. Well, let me tell you something, you idiot. If you're throwing in either testosterone or some kind of weird growth hormone, you're picking up some dormant cancer out there and you're giving it all the juice it needs. You're an idiot. Okay. So whatever happens to you is up to you. Okay. You're an idiot. Okay. You're an idiot. If you don't know this by now, that's what fuels these tumors. They're kind of dormant sometimes, and there you go. You love just talking about vaccines, and that's great. But when it comes to something you're taking this now, what's the matter with you? I want to be jacked. Well, you're a jack off, is what you are. You're an idiot. Stop it. Stop doing this. Okay, next. I want you to listen very carefully about this Trump trial, and I'm going to try my best again to do it. I've got today, I'm going to be on Mark Simone, my friend Mark Simone at 10:40 a.m. Eastern time on WOR. He has a great show, except that he never has enough time to talk about anything, which is the way of it. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's frankly, it's very good. Because the first, I think, 10 minutes of it is the most important, just to get an idea of the headlines, what's going on. Sometimes important stuff, sometimes not. But I think it's all important. Very, very, it's kind of a magazine. Remember, you have to have a show. A newspaper has different sections, news, sports, weather, fashion. A show should have different things. Culture is a part of the news as well. His is very good. But I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell him today. And he is going to love it, because I, of course, am an absolute dream when it comes to being a guest, because I'm a professional guest. That's what I do best on talk shows, the best. Because I did that. That's how I started, by being a call-in guest. I know what I'm doing. I don't fool around. I'm a dream. A dream. I never say, thank you for having me on your show. Stop that. I don't do that, okay? And another thing, too, is, you ready for this? I'm going to give you one little tip. Remember I told you this. Remember my first rule about pick the hill you want to die on? Here's another one. If ever you go on a show, you're going to say, number one, I'm going to talk about the New York Yankees in 1927. Number two, I'm going to talk about how half and half is actually better than low fat or skim if you're on a low carb diet. Number three, I'm going to talk about Nelson Rockefeller and the whole Megan Marshank thing. And you're going to say, wait a minute. How do you know what you're going to talk about? He hasn't even asked you any question. I'm controlling it. And when I say, that reminds me, low fat milk is, and they will think, oh, that's interesting. They won't know what hit them. You always go on, you're going to say what you're going to say, not what they're asking you, because they don't know what they're doing. You don't mean anything to them. They're just, they've got to move the show along, and they're not worried about your view of Trump's indictment. They don't care about it. They don't, and I don't blame them, because they're busy. Always have what you're going to say ahead of time. Always say what you're going to say. And believe me, they'll be so happy. They won't call you up and say, oh, by the way, that was a great hit, but you never really talked about what it doesn't work like that, okay? Now, listen to this. Listen to me very carefully. I have been an absolute rabid fan of people talk about investments and, hey, is crypto better than real property? You know what? Talk about that all you want. I like insurance. And one of the things that's always made sense is, if you are not able to get to a store over a week, 2 weeks, for whatever reason, alien invasions, war, pestilence, supply chain riots, I don't know what. Or maybe you're like to go camping, and I have no idea. My Patriot Supply, they are the best. And if you go to preparedwithlionel.com, last week's deal, I told you that one. You didn't listen. Some did. This is the new one. $50 on a 4-week emergency food kit. That's a month. $50. If this does it, so just if you're, why people are debating this, I have no idea. A 4-week emergency food supply kit, 2,000 calories a day, 16 varieties, up to a 25-year shelf life. Breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks, snacks, packed into 2 rugged, these like buckets. They look like ammo buckets. Nothing waterproof. Free shipping and handling. That's it. I recommend this. I know you're smart. Believe me. Preparewithlionel.com. This is not a joke. This is not an investment. This is insurance that you know you're going to need, because what's happening in this country right now, in this world, I don't even want to go there. Okay? That's it. Now let's talk about this right now. And any questions you have about the Trump trial, be more than happy to answer them. Number one, I told you this. Have you ever had somebody in your life who was sat in judgment of you? You ever had a jury talk to you? Have you been before a homeowners association, a school board? Have you ever been? Have you ever been mellow? I've never been to me. Anyway, have you ever done that before? Have you ever had somebody who sits in judgment of you? Raul Rodriguez says the rock musician Noriega was blasted with while in the Vatican embassy were Panama, Van Halen, Danger Zone. Oh. Let me try it again. Mano Noriega, when he was in the embassy, when they were trying to get him out, the rock music Noriega was blasted with while in the Vatican embassy were Panama's by Van Halen, Danger Zone, Kenny Loggins, Refugee, Tom Petty, and Never Gonna Give You Up, Rick Astley. Thank you for that. Rick Astley, by the way, is damn good. And he has taken that song and made it his own. I love the guy. He is now more famous, and he's got an incredible. Have you heard that Cry for Help or Help is All I Need? He's amazing. He is great. But thank you for that. Okay. If you've ever sat in front, these people are going to make a decision. Understand who these people are. Juries are there. So what you need to do is do everything in your power not to piss these people off. Do you think everybody in Manhattan, again, people can't say T's anymore. Do you think everybody in Manhattan really hates Trump? No. Not everybody. Some people even admire him, but they'll never tell you this. Some people are weird. Remember when John Gotti said, "Oh, John Gotti's a murderer." They thought that's John Gotti. That's the key. If you were in a restaurant, you said, "Is that John Gotti?" Wow. That's all I want to know. Oh, that man's a killer. He's terrible. That's John Gotti. Is that Trump? That's Trump. Why? Because we love celebrities. Don't kid yourself. When you ask somebody, do you like Trump, whatever it is, they're going to say, nah, until he walks in, you're going to go, holy shit, that's John. Wow, he's taller than I thought. He looks pretty. Because when you see somebody and you see them talking and you see them space, you see this. How do you walk in? I would have everything choreographed. When you walk in, do you look at the jury? Do you nod? You have to do some kind of an acknowledgement. Don't act like they're not there. Only one time. Morning, that's it. You're not looking at them for any other reason. Don't make it look too weird, like you don't care, but you know they're there, but you got nothing to worry about because you're not guilty. In fact, you want to look like, you know what? I'm glad these people are there. I'm glad they're there because, doggone it, they're going to help me because they look like smart people and I need smart people. All right, that's it. Number 2, you're not going to laugh. You're not going to laugh during interruptions, during intermissions. You're not going to turn to anybody. Thank God they got rid of that Alina Haba. Thank God you've got 2 adults there who are apparently doing a good job. Number 3, I don't know what this Margot, what's her name, is doing, this 28-year-old. I don't know why she's there. I don't know why you're doing it because Mr. Trump, do you understand something? This has been viewed by so many people as though this is about hush money and your mistress, and a lot of women don't like that. Instead of Judge Mershon saying, hey, listen, what do you watch? What do you watch? How about this? Any of you have had affairs? Have you any divorce? You can't ask that question. Have you been cuckolded? Any men? Have you been 2-timed? Have you been the victim or involved in adultery? That's what you really want to know, not what magazines they read or news show. You want to know, what is adultery view to you? Is that like, how do you look at that? Do you say, you know what? I remember that. I keep thinking about that Melania. She's nice, and he was fooling around with that strumpet, and that's what you want to know. But you can't ask that question. The questions you ask are stupid. What TV news do you watch? What does that mean? I watch sometimes a junk yogurt show to laugh. I'm not a fan. Last night, Mrs. L and I were watching, I don't know, QVC was on the damn thing. I thought, this is still the weirdest show there is. So we're watching QVC, not because we're going to buy anything, but we're saying, this is the weirdest thing. It's weird. So that's the questions they want to ask. Not, did you vote for him? What difference does it make? Did you vote for him? And was that a mistake? This is the question I want to ask. Mr. So-and-so, Ms. Courtney, or Mr. Courtney, I don't know, Kelly, I'm not sure. Mr. Pope, Mr. Hillbilly, Ms. Floyd, have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? How'd that make you feel? That's what I want to ask. That was my favorite. When I did voir dire, when we did it, we had a very liberal. It was the most important thing in the world. Oh, how'd that make you feel? You ever been accused of something? Could you prove it? Could you prove you didn't do it? No. You know the president doesn't, excuse me. Always say the president. He's the president. Don't run from it. It's not Mr. Trump. He's a president. Does the president have to prove anything to you? That's the most important thing. Do you have to prove anything to you? Do you sit back and say, no, Mr. President, no, don't worry about that. Come on, Mr. Bragg, tell me what he did. I don't want to hear, you don't have to say anything. Life's not like that. When you're called in, somebody says, hey, Nightingale, come in, have a seat. Listen, somebody's been stealing a lot of the coffee pods, and I think it's you, and you're fired. And you said, oh, yeah, prove it. I don't have to prove it. I'm the boss. You're fired. It doesn't work like that. But in criminal law, Nightingale could say, oh, yeah, prove it. Well, I can't prove it. Then I still keep my job. That's the way it would work in criminal law. It doesn't work like that in real life. People don't get that. Trump didn't have to prove anything. How many of you read the indictment? Nobody. He's got 34 counts. You know what the indictments are? 34 counts of the same transaction? 34 counts? He entered a voucher. He entered an invoice. He entered voucher number 12345. Count 6. He entered voucher 123456. Count 7. Invoice number 2213. Check number 4216. It's the same thing. It's one thing. So this business about we're going to get to the bottom of that what? And the thing about this is, let me tell you what I want to do. You know what I do? If I go into that jury, and I've been to jury, I want to get the hell out of there. I want to go home. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Especially in Manhattan. I hate it. You got to get down there. It's in downtown. It's a bitch. Oh, God. Hate the whole thing. I hate it. The only good news is that I've got a bar card I can get in, but that's it. That's the only benefit. I got to sit there, get up, sit down. It's a pain in the ass. I'm sorry. You feel like just kind of, like cattle. You moved in and you got some bailiff. All right, for number engine 5, stand up and around. And then you go there. Have you ever seen this in jury? And you see these people, they can't speak English. You're going, this is a juror? This is a juror? The best story I ever heard, best one was they had this Chinese guy who shows up, oh man, like with 100 Chinese people with him. And you'll find out why I keep saying Chinese. When I say 100, it seemed like 100. In these little rooms, it goes, what the hell is this? This guy looks, he's like scared shitless. And the young granddaughter who speaks English, so, because let me tell you something, right around the courthouse, right behind it, it's Chinatown. And they have this one little park where they're doing Tai Chi and gambling like you can't. This isn't some little, they're doing serious. You know that Chinese love gambling, love it. In Chinatown, there are underground tunnels from the old days where they would run. And this is, it's like going into another, just the parking lots behind the courthouse. You gotta see this. So anyway, this Chinese guy shows up, old man with his hat, looking scared out of his mind. And they get like the granddaughter who could speak, and all these people around. And he goes, "Excuse me." I'm not going to do an accent. He goes, "Excuse me, yes. What did he do?" He said, "What? We're here to support him, our grandfather. What did he do?" He said, "What did he do? He didn't do anything. He's a juror." "What? He's a juror. He's a juror." They thought he was charged with something. This guy's from China. He fled. He's thinking, "Oh, Jesus, Mao, I escaped Mao. I don't know what the hell I did." I thought, this is a juror? Did he have a driver's license? How the hell did he get on the voter roll? But he did. Those are your peers. Those are my peers? Okay. That's an expression. So I want to get off. I don't want to sit through this. So I'm sitting there like this. Okay. All right. Do any of you can you be fair? Anybody here can't be fair? I can't be fair. Okay, you're excused. Oh, shit. Judge, excuse me. I can't be fair. What? No way. Nope. What do you mean? Well, when you say fair, see, I'm going to acquit President Trump no matter what it is. I don't care if you have pictures of him saying, "I'm violating Section 175. Look, I'm handing a voucher to Michael." I don't care what it is. Call me Mr. Nullification. I cannot be fair because I think he's being real. Okay, get out. Thank you. You asked. You asked me. So you just told me. You just gave me a way out. And all of a sudden, hands are going up. I'm not fair. I'm not fair. Nope. I'm not fair. And the ones who stay, and day one, they're real good about it. Okay, get it. You know what, do 50 of them? Well, when they start thinning out the herd, then they get a little bit tougher. Okay, what do you mean unfair? Then they start challenging you. What do you mean unfair? I mean, I'm going to find, oh, yeah? You mean you're not going to listen? Well, I'm going to listen, but I'm not going to follow instructions. Oh, you're going to deliberately violate your oath? Well, I'm not going to. Sit down. And you get that. And then the judge sends a message. Everybody's like, "Don't pull this shit anymore because I know what you're doing." But the first day, it's very free. Okay, leave. Yeah, leave. Go ahead. So that's this thing. So those people are going to sit there. So how are they looking at you? What do you look like, Mr. Trump? President Trump? Are you sitting? Are you near him? Are you next to the jury? Or are you from far away? How do you sit? Body language. This like this. That looks like, what is this? Be respectful. Just sit there. Pretend you're watching a lecture on the Amazon. You know that look you get where you're listening, where you're just attentive, where you're, that's it. That's look respectful. When the door opens up, you stand up. When the judge sits down, you sit down. When the jury comes in, you stand up. We always stand up. We stand up. You, ex-president, you stand up before them. It's respect, not for them, but for the court. This is what you convey. This is the thing. And pretty soon they'll say, because they're thinking, damn, that's Trump. Hey, guess what? Marge, yeah, I'm on the Trump trial. Yeah. Listen, they told me not to say anything, but I'm going to tell you something. Hey, do you know what? He's taller than I thought. Trump's a big dude. You never realize that. You never, until you're in a room with people, you never realize, damn. That's why when you see Barron tower over him, Trump's 6'3". This guy's 6'3". He's big. And Barron. Eric is even taller than Trump, and Barron towers over him. Okay, does that mean anything? I don't know. If you're into the height thing, that's okay. But when they see him, don't let anybody fool you. Number 2, Trump, stop tweeting. Or not tweeting, Truth Social. Look, you made your billions, whatever it is. Stop it. Talk about anything else. Here's one for you. I hope all the great jurors and witnesses on their way home, please be careful. Because New York's not the New York I grew up with. Alvin Bragg has turned, because what you're doing is you're commenting as not on the trial. Alvin Bragg is the worst district attorney. He has allowed every criminal to enjoy a safe haven. And you deserve better than this. And blah, 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 blah. Don't take the subway, folks. But if you have to say something, So go back and I want you to read. I told you this. Did any of you find, folks? Of course you did. I gave you an assignment yesterday. I'm going to give it to you right now. This is the indictment. I want you to read it. It's real dry. It's very dry. But tell me, what's the difference between the counts? Tell me what they are. Read them. Read them right now. Tell me, count 1, 2, 3, 4. What did he do? Well, I entered the voucher. A voucher? What the hell's a voucher? Count 4, another voucher. Well, a different voucher. A different voucher. Yeah, voucher number 1, 2, 3, 4. Count 2 was 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, then I introduced a pay stub. And then I introduced a check. And then I voided that check and I introduced another check. I mean, every kind of check number 138. Do me a favor. Whenever you get checks, if you buy checks, most people don't even have a check. I know people who don't have a checkbook or have checks available. I rarely use them. Most people don't use them. But if you do, make sure when you order your checks, start with number 2859. Why? It looks like you've written a lot of checks. 2859. Damn. 2,859 checks? Phew, that's good. Okay, I'll take that check as opposed to 0003. I don't care. Start with that. You can pick any number you want. Oh, in the old, I had clients. One guy told me, you know what you do is you take your check and you microwave it and it kills the electric magnetic. So they got a hand process them. It goes through the thing and they know how to get by. You can do so much stuff with checks. Did you know a while back there was a case and I interviewed him. There was a fellow who was it was not Publishers Clearinghouse, but it was something like that. And in this magazine, there was this phone. Did you ever see that? Pay to the order of. And it was this check, $1 million. Publisher, I keep saying it's not Publishers Clearinghouse, but something like that. So if you look at UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, Article 9, I think it is. Secure transactions or whatever it is. No, 3. I think it's checks. Article 3, whatever the article was. A check has to say pay to the order of. It's like a draft versus a check. It orders the bank date, pay to the order of this person, not the number, and you sign it and that's it. Nothing doesn't say it has to be on a blue little thing torn out of a book with nice lettering. No, it has to have these elements. So this kid said, what the hell? He wrote his name in and deposited it. He had like $3 in the bank account. The next day he calls up on the phone and goes, your deposit is, your balance is $1 million. And he said, what? They cashed it. I mean, not cashed it, but they credited his account. This was in all the papers. And I interviewed him. And he said, this is nuts. So he said, gotta be a mistake. I'll just leave it there. Day 2 goes by. It's still there. What your balance is $1 million and $3.58. So I don't know if he contacted a lawyer then, but he calls up. He said, listen, I just want to make sure. Can you check my balance? Yes, I'll hold. Yes, $1 million. And he said, are you sure? What do you mean you're sure? Could this be a mistake? Sir, we are manufacturers, Chase, whatever the name was. Okay. So he went and he said, I'd like a cashier's check. Yes. For $1 million. Okay. And I think he didn't have enough money for the bank fee but he got a cashier's check like to himself for $1 million. And he went to a lawyer and said, is this okay? Well, they said, well, anyway, he got it back. He used all the money. But basically the court said, that's a check. That's yours. I don't know why the bank did it. You don't ask somebody, well, why did you? By the way, also in some cases, in some states that still have a criminal statute against bad checks, post-dating it can get you off the hook because a check is a promise that you've got this money now. It's in there now. So if you cash it now, but if you post date it, it's telling the person this is good 3 days from now. So in certain, and bank people will cash it no matter what. They never look at it. Do you ever see anybody at bank ever look at your signature? You ever see that? They never check. Here's another one for you. When you put when you ever have a check on an account, on your checks, if you still insist upon using a checkbook, let's say your name is Marsha. Put M, Washington, M Washington. But at the bank, you're going to say, but I'm going to sign it, Martha. So whoever gets this will write M, because they'll think, they go, no, go back and check my card. That's what I put on the name, but that's not the permitted signature. And with M, they got to guess. Murray, nobody knows. Little things. Here's another one for you. A check has to be non-negotiable. It's got to be basically an order to the bank that says, pay him. A lot of sometimes personal injury settlements or whatever at the back would say whoever endorses a check does hereby waive any and all liability to the to the issuer. And courts have said, no, that destroys negotiability. That's not a check anymore because you made it conditioned. You made the endorsement to be a waiver. No, the endorsement says, I got this, paid to do this. Anyway, there's a whole UCC stuff is great. I think it's Article 3 about what's a check, what's not a check. But nobody cares about this anymore. People don't. I'm talking about some lost art of the checkbook, having it. You ever go to the store? Who's ever been to a store? You go, how much is this? Yes. What? $40.82. Just a minute. Let me get my pocketbook. Oh, for Christ's sake. Just a minute. Open it up. And she's like, oh, here it is. And she takes out her little checkbook. And she says, do you have a pen? Okay. What's today's date? And the line is, come on, lady. December. Oh, I made a mistake. Oh, leap year. Damn it. It just, nobody does a check anymore. Nobody writes a check. But they're stealing checks. Be very careful. They're stealing checks. That's why electronic transfer is why people don't understand this. I have no idea. Well, I don't like those things. I like a nice check. Okay, good for you. But that's not the way that thing works. So anyway, back to Trump. What's also critical is the jury instructions. You've got to make sure there is a jury instruction that says hush money is not against the law. Faye Dalton. Let's say you and I have lunch together. I say, by the way, Faye, if you don't mind, listen, would you do me a favor? Would you sign this? Yeah. I'm going to give you $100. Don't tell anybody we had lunch. Please. Okay? Nothing personal, but don't. Would you sign this? It's an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. If you were to release this, you're opening yourself up to liability and wait. Would you sign this for me? Thank you very much. Boom. That's it. Nothing illegal with that. Nothing. Hush money is done all the time. Do you ever leave a company? Non-disparagement. What do you mean disparagement? What do you mean? Oh, what? Is it an opinion? I mean, there's always some qualification as to what you can and can't say, and don't tell anybody this. And there's nothing wrong. Because they still call it hush money. That's why they use the word chokehold. Daniel Penny, it's not a chokehold. It's a carotid restraint. You use these words. These words mean something. You've got to make sure that jury instruction is there. The other thing, too, is you want to have as many reasons, issues on appeal. Number 1, did you object? Number 2, did you preserve it for appeal? And number 3, did you list it? So when you do a motion for new trial at the end, you can say, here's why, Judge Mershon. Number 1, you denied this, and this motion. You granted their motion for this, and this. 2 things. We have a motion for a judgment of acquittal at the end of the state's case, where we basically ask that you direct a verdict. Then we'll put on our case. We renew that motion to dismiss. So then we have a motion for new trial, motion to set aside the verdict, and then, but you've got to just lay the groundwork, because if you let something go by and you let an issue without objection, you don't object, you don't preserve it for appeal, then when you give it to the appellate courts, they might say, you know what? This would have been a great case, but you never objected. So we're not going to take it up for the first time here. We're not, unless it is so egregious that the courts will look at it. So that's the dry stuff. That's important. But if you think that somehow this idea that, oh, the case is stupid, oh, this is ridiculous, this thing is nuts with Jack Smith, because, well, all those cases, if you look at what's the old Greg Kelly argument. Well, if you look at how many of the cases, the documents are, it's only a few. What does that mean? Your Honor, I was charged with speeding. I was only going 58 miles an hour. It's just 3 over. Come on. That may make sense to you in the court of public opinion, but that's not a legal defense. What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't understand it. And quit saying, well, the Southern District of New York, they didn't take this. Cy Vance did. Who cares? Why do you keep telling me this? Because I'm going on Newsmax. And the only reason I'm on Newsmax is I got to make sure I tell the Newsmax audience, or the Fox or whatever it is, stuff they want to hear, even though what I'm saying has no legal basis whatsoever. But the conservative shows love this stuff. So I'm going to say, because I want to come back on the show again. How'd you do? You did great. You know what I said was complete bullshit, right? Yeah, I know that. That's okay. But come on back. Okay, great. So you're not going to learn anything about the law watching these shows. Nothing. That's like you've, and by the way, where's Kate Middleton? Hello? I'm sorry. FBI also is looking into the Baltimore, I'm changing the subject. They're looking at the Baltimore bridge case. Why? To see whether the crew was negligent. Wait a minute. Let me say this again. Kate Middleton is gone. She's gone. She's disappeared. And nobody's listening. Nothing. Okay? You understand that? Okay. Now, my friends, let me ask you something. First and foremost, I want you to make sure you follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Right here. Go to Lynn's Warriors. You got to hear 2 stories. One about the Nicole Brown Simpson, and also something called Sammy's Law. God forbid one of your family members buy something or get something. What they're selling on the internet, you can't believe it. We're not talking about porn, we're talking about drugs that kill you. This is the most serious subject in the world, and people are so woefully ignorant as to it. So follow Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. Lynn's Warriors, right there. And also on X or Twitter at Lynn's Warriors _ there. Okay? You got that? Good. And don't forget me, throw in that Lionel legal. That's always good for a few laughs too. Because people, I'm convinced, would really like the legal stuff if you talk to them and explain the law. Don't talk about this is stupid. Okay, fine. Why is it stupid? Well, I don't know. It just is. How'd I do? Can I come back on your show again? Yeah. What do you want me to do? You want me to bring up more law? Oh, you don't know. You just want more of the stupid stuff. Yeah, that's all they do. This is stupid. This is unfair. Unfair? What does that mean? Of course it's unfair. This is America. All right, dear friends? Okay, good. Excellent. And to my 2 dear friends, God bless you, Mr. Dub Rightside. Dub, thank you so much for the kind and special and glorious words. And Raul Rodriguez, your kindness, your beneficence, your philanthropy, your charity are most appreciated. And I mean that sincerely. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. See you tonight at 7 p.m. Also, subscribe to Lionel Nation right here. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go right now and subscribe. I'm telling you, you must make sure you are subscribed because new stuff is coming up and you have to be aware of it. And plus, I may just go live and say, you know what, let's just do something. Something just happened. Like the other day during the OJ death, when OJ died, I went live. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. Thank you so very much. Until we meet again, have a great day. And don't forget these words, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. That.